back in my studio. Ta-da! So if you're new here and you've got no idea who I am, that's totally fine. I don't expect you to know who I am. I'm Claire. Hi. I'm a professional artist and I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. If you have been following me for a while, you'll know that I took a few months off because I had some surgery in November on my hip. Nothing major, nothing serious. It was very minor surgery, but I did have to take quite a bit of time off work because I couldn't really stand very much. But yes, that was like early November. It's now nearly, well, pretty much midway through January, and I am finally back in my studio, ready to paint and create for the year. So, yay! As I mentioned, I have already been back in the studio a little bit. I kind of did a couple of oil paintings, which is, I know, really random because I'm not really an oil painter, but every now and then I do get the urge to bring out the oil paints. I don't know, they just have this totally different feeling and texture and color vibrancy to them. I don't know, but sometimes I feel like doing that. So I did a series of these little ones for a little mini group exhibition that I'm doing in February. So these will be available to purchase in that little group exhibition. So I'm not going to talk too much about them now because they're not even available to purchase yet. So I will keep them under wraps a little bit. But that's what I did do the first time I was back in my studio. I also started working on a bit of a random mini collection of still life artworks. I was on, oops, knocking something over. I was on a bit of roll with the oil paint, so I kept going. See what I mean about the texture? So luscious and pretty. These are available on my website. They're not framed at the moment, but they will be framed. And yeah, they're just some nice, happy, sunshiny florals. Also, forgot to mention, back with the whole surgery thing, everything went totally fine. I'm not fully recovered, but I'm recovered enough to get back to work and stand. It was perfectly smooth. Again, it wasn't a serious operation. I just had to have a labral tear repaired in my hip, and so I was on crutches for a couple of weeks, and a bit of a, you know, to begin with, a bit of a rough recovery, but besides that, it was fine. So I am pretty much totally back to normal now and raring to go. This is the painting I'm working on today. It's a bit of a large canvas, back to the good old acrylics. And yeah, so as I mentioned, the exhibition is towards the end of March, early April, and I need to do a bit of a series of paintings. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do just yet. I'm thinking just a bunch of artworks sort of focused on the river. So I did a bit of a study down here. So really bright, fun, full of colour and brush strokes artworks. So this is a bit of a study. So this is the study that I did for this piece here. So that was like my inspiration, and I'm going to kind of take it from there. It may end up looking totally different to that, but that's where I'm going at the moment. So that's what I'm going to do today. Good afternoon, I'm back in my studio again today. It is the nicest day we've had this week. This week in Melbourne it has been super duper hot. It's our summer here, and so we've had like high 30s degrees Celsius all week, and it's just been not nice to paint in. And so it's finally raining today. It is pouring. We had a huge storm come through yesterday which has cleared out all the hot. It's still a bit sticky, it's a bit muggy, but it's not too bad. So I'm back in my studio again, just finishing up a few things that I started the other day, and yeah, I've sort of got to organise and varnish a few paintings that sold recently as well. This is my stack of sold artworks that are waiting to be framed. I do need to pop a coat of varnish on them all. There's some of the little florals that I finished painting the other day have sold. This big one here sold as well. Some of these gum tree studies have sold. So that's awesome. And I just need to wait for them to be framed so I can ship them off, which probably won't happen until next week, because on Friday I am heading off to Queensland with my daughter and her boyfriend. I actually have a workshop on the Gold Coast, a 2-day workshop with Artable, and so we were planning on going to Queensland for my daughter's birthday anyway, because she turned 18, and so since I was already going to be there anyway, I've decided to take them with me and turn it into a week holiday, so that's good. But it does mean that I'll be away again from the studio for a week. But I'm getting some things done while I'm here. So at the moment I'm working on this study here, or the reference photo of a local river scene here in Warburton. I really love the light and the sort of brightness and the colours, like the sun hitting all the trees in this one. But I want to stray away from sort of realistic colours. But I usually do a series of sort of sketches or I don't know what they're called, studies I suppose, and slowly working my way through the process of eliminating the details really. And because it's when you're looking at a picture like this, there's like so much happening. You can see different patches of light hitting different parts of the trees and the leaves and the reflections in the water, and it's really overwhelming. So instead of working on a final piece directly from this reference here, I tend to create smaller versions in looser and sort of more simplified ways. So this is the one that I was doing a second ago. However, this one I've kind of, again, because I'm looking at the reference directly while I was doing this, I've kind of gone a little bit too realistic with the colours. The greens are very muted greens, the shadows are quite, purple shadows, but I really like the feeling of it, but I need to sort of tweak the colours a little bit before I move on to a bigger version. And so that's what I'm doing here. So you can see the change between the vibrancy, the saturation of the colours from this study to this study. So I actually worked from this to make this. And I focused more on mixing up brighter and more saturated, more higher vibrancy colours to replicate it instead of the more realistic colours, because that's just how I prefer to paint. I prefer to express things in a much more vibrant way than what they are in real life. And because I've worked from this reference here, which was worked from this photo, so you can see that this first study, it's quite, it is loose, but it is still quite detailed, and you can see that it is obviously, inspired a lot by that reference. And then as I get further away from using the reference photo, the sort of artwork becomes a lot more abstracted and a lot more, free and loose and expressive, and less like a copy of the reference. So that's how I use references. I don't usually paint directly from a photo and a finished painting. I tend to sort of do in these like little steps of like deconstructing, I guess you could call it, until I get something like this. And this is what I will use as my reference for the actual painting, which is going to be on here. So I won't really look at the actual photo much while I'm working on this one. Instead, I'm going to look at this. So that's just a way that I kind of break away from the realistic reference photo, and becomes less about making a copy of this and making a painting that looks like this, and more about taking the feelings of that and the light and the movement and everything that I like about this and abstracting it and making it simplified and a bit more loose and expressive. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So you can see I've gotten a lot more vibrant with the greens. I've now got like pink trees in here instead of the brownish colour trees. The water is a lot more vibrant in the shadow areas. And this is just a quick sketch as well. This only took me about 30 minutes. It's just a quick gestural colour study. But now that I have this loose interpretation, I can now take this and move on to a bigger painting. So I just thought you might find that a bit interesting to sort of see where that progress takes me and why I'm sort of doing it in this way. So I'm sitting at a park here at the moment. Hopefully it's not too noisy. There's a guy doing gardening just around there, blowing a really loud blower. So I have 3 children. My youngest started high school today, and
his high school is about a little over an hour away from where we live. So he has to catch a school bus to get there, which is the first time he's had to catch a school bus. Normally I'll just drop him off at school. But this particular school that he is going to, and before you come at me about how far away it is, there's reasons why he's going to this school. It's the best school for his needs. It just happens to be a long way from our home. So anyway, long story short, I need to be out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning every school day now to make sure that he is up and dressed, and I drive him to the bus stop so that he's ready to be picked up by 7:15. So me, I'm not a morning person, so this is going to be a shock to the system. So anyway, today was the first day, and drop-off went well. There was no tears from either of us, even though it's a very stressful thing starting off high school. I'm now going to have to be a morning person. I now have about 2 hours more productive time in the morning than what I have had previously. So yeah, that's going to take a bit of getting used to. I'm hoping that it ends up being productive time and I don't just end up going back to bed. Today I have actually had to stay up because I have an appointment later this morning. So I have a bit of time to kill in between the appointment and now, and rather than go back home again, I've decided to pull up at a park. Got my coffee, got my sketchbook, and I'm going to get some sketching done for the next hour just while I'm killing time. And then I need to head back to the studio after my appointment, package up some artworks that have been framed and are ready to package off and go to their new homes, try and get some work done. And yeah, so I've now only got one child left at school. He's my last left at school. The other two have finished. So yeah, we just got to get through the next 5 or 6 years of early mornings, and there will be a home stretch. But yeah, the struggle will be real. I'm not a morning person. He is. He's totally fine. He's always the first one up out of everybody, so it didn't faze him. But I reckon by 3 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to be ready for a nap. This is my little setup that I have here. Most of the materials I'm using are fairly cheap-ish materials, except for the neon colours. The paint that I'm using is just a really cheap watercolour. I've just got some inks in sort of brush pens, a bit of water. That's about it, really. This sketchbook is a really cheap sketchbook as well. It's just something, this is the kit that I have in my car. I've got a pencil case with all this stuff in it and this little sketchbook, and I just keep it in my car for when, creative time pops up unexpectedly. And I really don't fuss too much about it. It's just somewhere to, release a bit of creativity and do a bit of sketching and drawing. And so I just laid down some washes with the watercolour, let it dry, go over the top with some of the Neocolour. These are the Neocolour 2, so they're the water-soluble crayons. And yeah, I just sort of layer up areas where I think it needs a bit more of a pop of colour and just have fun with it. So these were just observational sketches. It started out quite overcast and cloudy, so the colour wasn't really that inspiring, but of course in my own little way I sort of bamped it up a bit. But the sun did come out after a little while and created some really nice shadows. So then I started, doing another sketch based on the shadows and the light a little bit more. But really, this is just a chance to practice, practice and get some of that observation skills, under control and sort of practiced. I really want to do more of this sketching outside and sketching plein air, and I really want to do more of it, but I don't know, I just can't get myself into it. So I'm sort of forcing myself this year to try a little bit more often, and that's the main reason why I do have this little set of emergency art supplies in my car, so that if I do find myself waiting for an appointment or, sitting somewhere doing nothing in particular, instead of just reaching for my phone and scrolling through social media or TikToks or just mindlessly looking at, Instagram posts, instead of doing that, I'm forcing myself to pull out the sketchbook more often. So that's my little goal for this year. We'll see how long that lasts. I have a little bit of a art shop haul here. This is the first time I've been to the art shop this year. So my first purchase of the year. I went out to my local art shop and bought a few things, and I thought I'd share them with you. The first things that I picked up were some of these new, if I can get them in focus. There we go. Daniel Smith Gouache. So this is a new product that Daniel Smith has. I think they only released it last year. They only have, well, they don't have many colours, but I absolutely love the Daniel Smith watercolours. Ever since discovering them a little over a year ago, I've become obsessed and have bought pretty much every single colour. And so I thought that I would have a go at trying the gouache to see if I like that as well. So I just purchased a basic primary set, which has the Hansa Yellow Medium, Ultramarine Blue, Pyrrole Red, and Titanium White. So these are just basic primaries. If you're ever trying out a new product that you haven't used before, getting a basic primary set is a really good way to start, because you're going to get some, pretty basic mixtures out of this and a lot of versatility in regards to what it is that you can mix, and you don't need to have heaps of colours. So I bought those. The other thing I purchased is something that's been on my thinking about purchasing list for a while. This is the Strathmore Mixed Media Artist Journal. It's this soft cover. So they have a hardcover and a soft cover version. Normally I purchase hardcovers. So for example, this one here, this sketchbook, I believe, let me just check the back and see if it's telling me what it is. No. Oh, there we go. Stillman and Byrne Beta series. So this is hardcover. Normally I prefer hardcovers just because I like the fact that they are sturdy and I can sort of put pressure on while I'm doing stuff, and it's not going to be floppy. But they didn't have any of the hardcover version there, so I just went with the soft cover. So we'll see how that goes. I reckon it's probably going to get a bit wrecked, but we'll see. Anyway, this is mixed media paper. Now, there's a couple of YouTubers that I follow that recommend this sketchbook. So I've been looking at it for a while now. It is only 190 GSM, so the paper isn't super thick, but apparently it holds wet media and dry media quite well. So majority of the time I tend to use a combination of watercolor, gouache, or pencil in my sketchbooks. I need something that's going to hold wet media as well as dry. So yeah, I thought I'd try this out. And while I was there, I also saw this paper. So for reference, this was $56.75 Australian, and this is the 7.5 by 9.5. So it's not quite A4. So it's just under A4. This is A4, and it's just under A4. And this is a pad of Fabriano paper that is 300 GSM mixed media paper. And this whole pad, let me see, there is 30 sheets, and this was only $29. And so this is like 300 GSM, really nice heavyweight paper. And I haven't used this brand before, Fabriano. I've heard of Fabriano, but I haven't used the paper before, especially not the mixed media paper. So I got some of that too, just to test it out with the gouache and the watercolor to see if I like it. So that's what I'm going to do this afternoon. I'm going to do a bit of color mixing with my gouache and just see what colors I can get. It does lay flat, which is one of the things a lot of people that recommend this sketchbook say, is that it does nicely lay flat, so it's good. Can't find a palette, so I'm just going to use this old envelope, and I'm just going to do some swatching. Oh, please don't mess up everything. Clean the lid out. Less than that, about $15 each, roughly, which is not too bad because they're quite big tubes. They're 15mm tubes, so it's a decent size, or decent amount at least. It's not too stingy. Okay, I haven't got the lighting set up here very well, but that's okay. Okay, so let's start. This is Pyrrole Red, which is a very, very primary red. And then we have the Hansa Yellow Medium. And Ultramarine. Now this is like a very traditional primary set. For those that have been following me for a while, you'll know that usually my primaries are from more of a vivid side of the colour wheel. So I would use, my red would be quinacridone magenta, the yellow would be maybe cadmium yellow, and then the blue would be phthalo blue. That's what I would use. But these three came in like a set of three. So as far as convenience goes, that's just what I went with. So I'm just going to do a little mixture of half and half. So we've got this orange. I can sort of tint it a little bit more towards yellow. And I might tint it a little bit more towards, just move this over a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Tint it a little bit more towards the red side, maybe. And let's do the yellow and blue. For our green secondary. And we can add a bit more blue to that just to glue down the blue side. Maybe it's a little bit of yellow. And then we'll mix the blue and the red together and see what kind of purple we get. I'm not expecting it to be super vibrant, although the Pyrrole red, it is a warm red. So yeah, it's got a bit too much orange in it to make it a really vibrant purple, but we'll add a bit of white and see. It does make a nice neutral, which is kind of, I guess the whole point of it really, is to get that neutral colour. Let's add more white to it. So this is like a neutral grey that you would get. Let's make it a bit more blue. So it means that a lot of the colour mixes that we get out of this primary is going to be quite desaturated, because especially when you mix the red into it. Okay, so let's just see the red with some white. Should make a really nice pink. That's the good thing about warm reds, is that they do make really nice pink colours. Let's get a little bit more white into there. Yeah, so that's a really pretty colour. It's nice for flowers and just a little bit of yellow. You can get like good skin tones and things out of that as well. Let's do the yellow with some white. Some white that's not contaminated with too much of the red. And let's see what happens when we get the ultramarine and white. be about reactivate, because this is a traditional gouache. It does reactivate with water, which is nice. Acrylic gouaches don't reactivate, so once they're dry, they kind of act a lot like acrylic in that once they dry and that's it. But because this is a traditional gouache formula, it will reactivate even once it's dried out a little bit. So let's just mix up some of these greens with some of the white. Okay, maybe just like a little touch of blue in here. So it's a nice lavender sort of colour. So yeah, look, this is why it's nice to get a primary set like this, because it is quite versatile. You can sort of see the colours that I've mixed. Let me just zoom in a little bit. So you can see that, you know, they're the primaries, and we'll work our way down. So there's a good variety of colours. So you could definitely create like a nice vibrant landscape out of these, or a still life. And you've got some nice neutrals from the blue and the red together. None of the colours are going to be particularly vibrant and bright, and because they're quite muted, as a natural primary palette usually is. But yeah, the quality of the paint, it's really lovely. It's very creamy, very good pigments in it, as I would expect from Daniel Smith. So yeah. So thank you for joining me on another video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a comment if you have any questions, and to click the subscribe button and the like button, because that really helps with sharing my videos with other people that may be interested. And I will see you again next time.